I mean, from what I can tell, I mean, the DTF industry is a Chinese industry. You know, it was already well developed and they were working on everything and all using, you know, like your standard size is 24 inches. You
Correct.
know, it's not 29 inches, it's not 32 inches, it's not 36 inches, it's 24 inches. Now
Yeah.
there are wider printers, you know, and you companies like CobraFlex and others have made wider printers to do different things. And that could also include the decor market, awnings, all kinds of other things. But the core market is 24 inch or even a little smaller. 24 seems to be what everyone's settled on. So here's your sweet spot. 24
Yeah.
inch printer, 3200 series, Epson heads, 2 to 4, depending.
Yep.
The shaker is adjusted for speed depending on what your printer is putting out. 24-inch film is widely common.
Correct.
And everything is a workflow, you know, kind of like I brought up earlier. So if your workflow, if three of the pieces, it's kind of like doing lamination. You know, if your laminator is 55 inches, well, then what good is a 64-inch printer exactly? You may as
Exactly.
well,
Yeah.
you know, like you may as well get a 54-inch printer because that's your right marriage between your finishing device and your printer if everything's going to be laminated. So if your shaker's 24 inches and that's what's available and that's where the price sweet spot clearly is. Because every time you have to do something bigger, yeah, you're now being more compatible to your printer, but your printer's the oddball size and your shaker is now the incorrect size to match your oddball printer,
Yeah.
which then drives up the price of your shaker because you're buying outside of norms. Now they'll
Correct.
tell you, oh, well, you know, we think that this is the best size. And the real answer is no, you already had existing products in that size, in that frame, and you just adapted it to DTF.
Yes.
Hence, you notice that other things that they make are in the same size. So the Chinese market really, I think, drove all this. The Chinese market is the dominant advance, and that's where the white ink came to the Chinese printer market and changed the market. Especially, you know, like you have companies like DuPont, they have very good white ink at $75 a liter, and it doesn't clog. And you even have, as you're mentioning, further advances in
Yeah.
white ink that are sediment free, that can go with even without being circulated for long periods of time. And that's going to change because now you don't have to make this elaborate circulation system and dampers and everything else because it's not as necessary.
Well,
You
you
know,
still have it. It's almost, I'll give you an actual
it's an
example.
insurance policy. It's a
Exactly.
peace of mind.
And we had it, our printer that we still have out there in that garage sat for 2 months. Both print heads still worked. We still printed with it after because we had non-sediment white ink in there. And we had a big storm here in Houston and it blew out the boards. And we couldn't figure out why it wouldn't advance the film. It would print, but it wouldn't advance the film.
Okay.
So it took forever. But when we finally got it up and running, all we had to do was do a few flushes. The print head still worked. And thank God we had that non-sediment white ink in there.
Sure. And I know I had a meeting with at the last big DTF expo. I had a meeting with Ian Aram, and you know he was explaining to me the value of this sediment-free ink, and I definitely agree with him. Now that's a major chemistry innovation that changes the DTF industry. It recalculates the configuration of what works and what doesn't work because the thing that when I was with Mamaki, the thing that Mamaki introduced when they introduced their DTF printer is a Japanese OEM product that doesn't have ink that clogs with white. Now, that doesn't mean you didn't have to shake it. It doesn't mean you still don't have the possibility of it clogging. It just means that they created a better quality white and they created a circulation system as an insurance policy against it clogging. Having sediment-free white is still a step forward. I mean, that's a better approach to it. And I think the two together, now I have a very good white ink that's not going to clog. But that innovation came elsewhere. Because it seems to me that the DTF market, would you guys agree with me that 24 inch is kind of the standard size?
100%.
Okay. So
Yeah.
everybody who's not in 24 inch is sort of an outlier in their own way.
Yeah, it's extreme. Even as Flash Printing Depot, like you mentioned, the films, the powders, uh, we we sell all of that, and it's extremely difficult whenever we get somebody asking for 32 because then we know we have to master cut a roll down to
Right.
32 to specifically meet your needs, and it really
Right.
frustrates us whenever
And I
somebody's
know
like,
where
"Hey."
that 32 is coming from.
Yeah.
Like it's one printer company
Yeah,
that has a
exactly.
32-inch machine,
Exactly.
and then there's
Exactly.
another Japanese printer company that has like I think a 29-inch machine, and there's
Yeah,
another new Japanese company entry and which is a 36-inch. And
exactly.
I'm like, I can buy almost two 24-inch shakers for the price of one 36-inch shaker.
Yes.
And then I
Yes.
don't have any oddball film issues, where I'm going to the people selling the film and going, I need a specialty cut film. Well, that's going to drive the price of my film. So I'm
Exactly.
a practical man. My pickup truck has a bed in it that fits a 4x8 board. You know why? Because there's 4x8 boards at Home Depot.
Correct.
Okay. You start making oddball board sizes, it doesn't fit in the bed of my pickup truck anymore. So
Yeah.
standardized sizes it's been a long time thing in every industry. So to my way of thinking, even if you have a 36, 32, or 29-inch printer, I'm going to run a 24-inch shaker because that's where the shaker sweet spot is. And the shaker is totally necessary for the success of the venture.
100%.